Here's the biggest thing that I have an issue with, though. Right now, we're talking about a 14-team playoff. 14 teams. Before we even know if the 12-team playoff is successful. We don't know that. Like, the 12-team playoff might crash and burn. I don't think it will. You and I both know we're probably going to watch it. I'm going to be highly intrigued by home game environments in the postseason. It's going to be fascinating. Maybe you get an SEC team that has to play in snow. Maybe you get a Big Ten team that has to travel to Florida and play UCF. I mean, these are things that are very fascinating to me. I can't wait to see how they all turn out. I can't wait to see maybe a G5 team and say Appalachian State. I can't wait to see a big blue blood program have to go to Boone, North Carolina to take on Appalachian State if they finish one or in the top 4 of the teams that don't receive buys. I'm fascinated by that. But Bill Hancock, the executive director of the college football playoff, said that there is a, quote, need for the deal to be done in the next month. So we have to determine what the college football playoff is going to look like in 26 and beyond in the next month. Do you realize that we went to the 12-team playoff to begin with? The original working group consisted of Big 12 commissioner at the time, Bob Bowlesby, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, then Mountain West Commissioner Craig Thompson, and Notre Dame Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick. You know how long it took for them to put together a 12-team playoff that was digestible and that made sense? It took them 2 years to put together a model that would be accepted by their peers. So now we have to expand in a month? And we have to sort all these things out in a month? I don't understand why. There are a million examples in college football where we have rushed into things. We've put them in place, and then, hey, we'll see what happens. I got a handful of examples that I'll tell you. And every single time we rush into something in our world, in college football, there is an unintended consequence. And I'm, to be honest with you, kind of scared about some of the unintended consequences, because some of the unintended consequences that we dealt with in the past, they don't really impact the fabric of the game that we love. They don't. But when we start talking about the possible unintended consequences of an expanded playoff, maybe it weakens the regular season. Maybe the regular season, you have more, you see Bama, Georgia play 3 times. You see Ohio State, Michigan play 3 times, maybe 4 times. Who knows? I mean, that to me seems absurd, but it could happen. And then it waters down rivalries. Like, there are unintended consequences of this expansion that we don't yet know about. And we won't know about them until we live in the 12-team playoff world. And yet, we're not even to the 12-team playoff world, and we're trying to expand further. Here's a few examples of things that happened in the last handful of years that led to unintended consequences that were actually worse for the sport. Remember when we launched the 14 playoff in 2014? Nick Saban said, well, get ready. This means other bowl games are going to die. And what happened? You don't make the playoff. Now the best players on the teams are opting out because they've been told that bowl games don't matter. The only games that matter are the playoff games. So bowl games, as a result, outside of gambling and having something to watch in December, well, I watch them. I love them. Even with backups in there, I still care. A lot of people don't, though. And I think it's alienated a lot of people from bowl games. Numbers are big, but are they important? No. That was an unintended consequence of expanding the playoff from 2 teams to 4 teams. Remember when everyone thought that NIL would actually be NIL? Well, now it's turned into pay for play. And people basically use NIL as an inducement to get guys to play for their team. That was an unintended consequence. Remember when we thought that allowing players to play 4 games and preserve a red shirt would be great for player development? Well, that was the intention. Hey, guys can still play and still redshirt and keep a year of eligibility. Well, now players are playing 4 games, going to their coach and saying, yeah, you know what? I'm good. I'm not going to play anymore this year. I'm going to redshirt and then I'm going to transfer. See MJ Morris at NC State. Remember when we thought that adding a second signing day in December was going to be good for the players because they could just sign and just have the recruiting process behind them? Well, now coaches are forcing players to sign. And if they don't sign, they're likely to have their scholarship revoked, ultimately forcing them to sign before they might be ready to sign. Every time we act too quickly in the sport, we seem to regret it because we don't consider what could come of the change that we're rushing to implement. What's the rush? The 12-team model makes sense.